Retired lorry driver Kempton Bunton was the Geordie Robin Hood of pensioners, taking on the establishment in a crusade for free TV licenses. He masterminded the theft of Goya's portrait of the Duke of Wellington from the National Gallery as part of his campaign. But unlike the Duke in his defeat of Napoleon at Waterloo, Kempton won his moral victory without an army to back him. Kempton evaded detection for 4 years, before handing the painting back through the good offices of this newspaper. It was the Daily Mirror what solved it. He had made his point, and gave himself up to the police, who had suspected him but could not believe that a 17-stone 61-year-old could outwit the galleries. State-of-the-art security. It was like something out of Hollywood's The Thomas Crown Affair, except for the fact that Kempton was no Pierce Brosnan. Kempton Bunton outside Bow Street Magistrates Court. Image. Getty Images. Francisco Goya's portrait of the Duke of Wellington. Image. PA. That is why he is played by Jim Broadbent in The Duke, the new comedy drama co-starring Dame Helen Mirren, which has been delighting cinema viewers since its long-awaited release last weekend. But the real story is more remarkable than anything Hollywood types could imagine. The story begins in 1961, when the government intervened to keep the famous portrait of the Duke from being sold to a wealthy American collector. The artwork is quite small, at 25 inches by 20 inches. Legend has it that Spanish artist Francisco Goya only persuaded Wellington to pose by threatening him with a. The painting was bought for the nation and put on display in the gallery's main entrance lobby on August 2. Less than 3 weeks later, on the 21st of August, it was stolen in a heist that baffled police. It was the first theft from the National in 138 years, and gallery boss Sir Philip Hendy was informed about it in his bath. He later said, "You feel a bloody fool, that's the truth." The trail went cold for 4 years, before a mystery reader wrote to the Daily Mirror in March 1965, from a post office in Darlington, County Durham, claiming to be the man with the Goya. Helen Mirren and Jim Broadbent in The Duke. Image. Daily Mirror. Don't miss. Elite fighting unit sent to assassinate Ukraine President Zelensky killed. Dad over drink drive limit when he crashed killing family on way to Tyson Fury fight. Highway code rule for blocking people's driveways and strange legal loophole explained. Caring for Derek viewers praise remarkable Kate Garraway as she cares for husband. Anxious for the portrait to be restored to its rightful owners, the people, all of us, the Mirror's then editor, Cecil King, appealed to him to do the right thing. In a confused reply, the man demanded £30,000 for the return of the painting, to be raised by public exhibition. He further demanded a confirmatory message in the newspaper's personal column signed, Whitfield. If those conditions were met, he told the paper, you will receive a letter informing you to pick up the Goya. On page 3 of the next day's paper, the following appeared, TYA, or HFC, your letter received and understood. Mr. Mystery wrote again, enclosing a receipt for the left luggage office at Birmingham New Street Station. Caramba! Detectives retrieved the stolen masterpiece, but still had no suspect, until Bunton surrendered himself 6 weeks later at London's West End police station. Initially detectives doubted his story, questioning whether a 61-year-old disabled man weighing 17 stone could have done the job. But he was charged with the theft of the £140,000 masterpiece, and its £100 frame, plus other offences. Before Bow Street Magistrates, Kempton said, I had no intention of keeping the painting, or of depriving the nation permanently of it. I never wished to obtain anything for myself. My sole object in all this was to set up a charity to pay for TV licenses for old and poor people who seem to be neglected in our affluent society. Scotland Yard detectives search a men's toilet for evidence during a search of the National Gallery. Image. Getty Images. Most read. Elite fighting unit sent to assassinate Ukraine President Zelensky killed. Russia-Ukraine war live. Huge explosion seen in Kharkiv causing mushroom cloud. Belarus invades Ukraine as second country joins Russian attack. He had served 3 short prison sentences for refusing to buy a license in protest at the government spending so much money on a painting while pensioners couldn't afford to watch TV. At his Old Bailey trial, Jeremy Hutchinson QC successfully argued that since Bunton never intended to keep the painting, he couldn't be convicted of stealing it. The jury agreed, and acquitted him on that charge, and of charges of demanding money with menaces and of causing a public nuisance, but found him guilty of stealing the frame, for which he got 3 months. The frame was never found, and legend says it was thrown into the Thames. The painting went back on display, and that was the end of the Thomas Crown tribute. Except it wasn't. In 1996, National Gallery documents suggested that someone else could have carried out the actual theft, and suspicion fell on Bunton's son, John. But it was not until 2012 that he was finally identified as the culprit, in a confidential file from the Director of Public Prosecutions in the National. John, Jackie, Bunton, then a 20-year-old van driver and former petty criminal, living in nearby Tottenham Court Road, had climbed over the gallery's back wall in the early hours of August 21, 1961, and used a builder's ladder to gain entry through an unlocked gents' toilet window. He found the Goya standing on an easel in a roped-off enclosure at the top of the main stairs. "I went up to it, took hold of it, and carried it back to the gents' toilet," he said in a statement. He got out the way he came in, put the painting on the back seat of his getaway car, which he had to push start, took it back to his lodgings and put it under his bed. Nothing could ever have been proved against Bunton Jr., but he panicked after being arrested and fingerprinted in Leeds in 1969 for a minor. Anxious that he might have left his prints in the gallery, he told officers he wanted to tell them about something that had been bothering him for some time, and confessed to the Goya job. Asked why he didn't try to sell his valuable haul, instead of giving it to his father, Bunton Jr. said he intended to use it as a tool in his campaign, and that it should ultimately be returned to the National Gallery. But why did he, nor his brother Ken, who was in on the knowledge, not come clean at the time and save their father an Old Bailey trial? "He told us not to. Ordered us. It was his wish," he said. Sir Norman Skellhorn, who was Director of Public Prosecutions at the time of Bunton's confession, ruled that it alone was not enough to prosecute him. Nor could his father be successfully prosecuted for perjury without relying on the evidence of his son, an unreliable witness. So the case was quietly. Apart from legal niceties, a view may have been taken that another very public airing of the art sting of the century might not be in the public, that is, the authorities' interest. Evidently still embarrassed by the Goya saga 60 years after the event, the gallery yesterday refused to answer any questions from the Mirror, despite being the beneficiary of our efforts to reunite the painting with its rightful owners. Kempton Bunton, so named after his father, had a win at the races, died in obscurity in Newcastle in 1976, aged 76, but his name lives on in popular culture as the Geordie Robin Hood for pensioners. Jackie, now 80 and living in North Tyneside, does not wish to talk about the episode. 0 seconds of 1 minute 32 seconds volume 90%. A very British scandal. Claire Foy stars in trailer. But speaking from New York, Jackie's son Chris, 45, an entrepreneur, acknowledges the key role of this newspaper in solving the great Goya heist mystery. He says, "It's why they returned the painting, because, after 4.5 years, the Daily Mirror were acting as middleman to get the picture back. They played a prominent role." In the film, Kempton Bunton, Jim Broadbent, is shown walking with son Jackie, holding a copy of the Mirror and talking about the paper's role in the Goya. Chris says the producers have made the movie as authentically as possible. "We have given the full picture," he says. "The film says it all. I hope it becomes one of the great classic films that is played every Christmas." He never knew his grandfather, the original plotter, but stoutly defends his dad Jackie, the man on a ladder with a mission. "He was a flawed character, but ultimately a good person, and I'm proud of him," he says. "To me, he was a hero, and this film brings closure to the whole 60-year episode." The pair regularly talk on the phone, and while Jackie declined to talk to the Mirror, Chris met up with him when he returned to the UK last week. "It was really good to see him," he says. "I took him to where he used to live. He's 80 years old now, and not in the best of health. Does he make me proud? Yes. Era's pal with £60 million in bank who took me on holiday of lifetime was fraudster. The film, The Duke, is billed as the story of how one man stole a national treasure and then stole the nation's hearts. It has been awaiting release since the early days of the pandemic. The story has, however, appeared on film before. The most amusing spoof of the saga appeared in the 1962 Bond film, Dr. No, when Sean Connery's James Bond spots the portrait in the villain's lair, saying, "So that's where it is." As he was driven away to serve his term at Hump Wandsworth, Kempton Bunton remarked, "I am intrigued by the verdict. Not half as intriguing, however, as the crime that never was saga that humiliated the establishment." Kempton sadly never lived to see his ambition of free old folks' free TV licenses enacted by Labour. But he might have gone back on the warpath when they were recently abolished by the Tories. What a film that would be. Read more. Job ad slammed as bonkers for huge list of demands, as it comes with no pay. Read more. When is it too cold to walk your dog in winter and what temperature is dangerous?